Thanks for joining us today at Learnwake. My name is Brandon Judd, and I'm responding to a user-submitted video that requested for analysis on his Heelside back roll attempt. Looks like this is the writer is James here, and this is his first few attempts at a wake-to-wake back roll. And then in the submission here, just James, just so we can address your concerns, thank you for writing these comments here. It really helps me understand what you're thinking. It says things that you think / know that you're doing wrong. One of them, the first one you start out with, is the approach is more crouching, like setting up for spins, and not very tall or progressive. Any tips on how to get my hips more forward? You hit the nail on the head with this one. This is really the main issue. All the rest of the things that are happening are all because of this. So you said that you're trying the double cut method, but you think you're starting the other cut too early. Where should I start the second cut? So the double cut method specifically is to help solve a specific problem. And that problem is that riders have a hard time. They start edging too hard too early and then back off. If you're having a hard time edging too early and have a hard time holding your edge back and saving it for the wake, then the double cut method is great. Otherwise, I wouldn't use it as a default. I think it will just be more confusing than it will be helpful, especially since you're not edging properly. So instead of having you edge twice incorrectly, let's just edge once correctly. And then if you can't edge, late enough, then we can add the double cut method to help force you, if that makes sense. So and then you say something about your release is ripping the handle out of my front hand. Any tips? Yes, that's because you're not loaded properly. So when you load and release properly, you actually travel toward the boat a little bit and you loosen up some of your line tension. When you do it wrong and are crouched, the line tension doesn't release properly and it just causes a lot of issues in the air. The other one here, I look really crouched over in the air and broken at the waist. I'm guessing this is associated with my crouched approach, and that is true. So again, if we solve this like crouched approach and getting your hips forward, if we can get your hips further forward and get you in a taller, better loaded position, I think the rest of these things will just go away. So thanks a ton, James, for that. That really helps me give you more accurate direction on this. So as you can see here, you're really broken at the waist, but you're also really loaded. So, I would not recommend learning your back roll like this. So instead of trying back rolls and trying to just keep your hips forward when you're attempting these, I would take a step backward and I would go to this drill here. This video is called "Loading the Line, the hard lean drill." Now, this may be difficult depending on your boat. If you have a really lightweight boat, um, it when you lean really hard like this, it's going to pull the boat around like crazy. Um, so you got to have a driver that can compensate for the pull. However, it does really help. And then there's some, wake park versions of it. But you can see here how my hips are really far forward. Um, this is what you need to learn how to do. So if we can get over here to the boat side of things. Yeah, if you can start here with your hips up, just don't initiate. That's the problem a lot of people have is they initiate this trick or they initiate their edge by dropping their hips. Like that's how they get onto edge. You can kind of see it in yours if we play a little bit of this. Um, Let me slow this down for us so we can see it in really slow motion. Keep the quality high. Okay. So it's hard to tell because you're out of frame, but you can even see here, you're not really leaning a lot, but you're already dropping your hips. So what that means is in order for you to start edging back toward the wake, the first thing you do is you sit. And we just have to break that habit. So if you look at my edge here, when I start edging out, I start by rolling my knees forward and keeping my hips up. And then as I edge out, and I start edging out kind of slow and continual, Um, so you can see this is a pretty clear shot of what's happening. So see how I'm loading really tall all the way through my hips. So this is what I want you to practice. So I want you to edge out away from the wakes. It's like I said, it's going to pull the boat a lot. So your driver's going to have to compensate a bit. Um, but this position is what you want to practice, because if you were to be in this position at the wake as you initiate the back roll, your back roll would be really high and really aggressive. So it doesn't have to be quite that extreme, but we want to go as extreme as possible in the practice, and then when it comes time to put it to the wake, it'll be much easier. And so I would practice this first, because this is going to put you in the right position to learn this drill, the low impact hillside back roll progression. Uh, this is the one where you do the back roll just like an air roll outside of the wake, without the wake. So I would I would practice this, um, because you can't sit and have this function at all. If you can get this like kind of happening and even pop halfway out of the air, even if you just land on your back like this, um, it won't hurt, and it's not going to work if you're broken at the waist. It only works if you're tall. So like you really won't even get off the water. You'll just like fall down on your back, if you're not doing it properly. So I would practice this drill, and then it will allow you to go from the inside out, and then one wake outside in, and then eventually take it wake to wake. So let's look at Kyle's initiation here on his back roll. Um, if we can, we'll pause it here. So look at how mellow and chill he is for a second. Look how he doesn't sit out here. He just glides nice and tall, keeps it really mellow, and then he does a little bit of leg push, but he doesn't really drop his hips below his knees, and his shoulders stay behind his hips. So he just softens his knees a little bit here and then stands tall. And you can see it again in the slow motion. Uh, so stay nice and tall, just like you would for the hard lean drill, and then you're going to load up right at the wake, just like you would that air back roll drill. And that should correct a lot of it. The rest of it just kind of happens. If you do this right, this trick just works. All the work is like right here to here, and then as long as you just keep your eyes open and spot your landing, the rest of it sort of works if you have any comfort upside down at all. Um, so trust the wake, trust that it will work, and those drills are going to help you get there, if that makes sense. So you asked about the double cut thing. So look how specifically Kyle saves his edge until right there. Like as soon as he passes this line, where like kind of the whitewash spray from the boat um, is uh, disrupting the water here right in front of the wake, you'll watch that like that's kind of his start position. So he just is like cruising in to keep momentum, and then as soon as he crosses that line, that's when he loads it up hard. That's why people do the double cut method, because they'll start one single cut here, back off, and then start again right there. But you don't need to do that because you haven't mastered the single cut yet. So let's not try and throw two of them in there until you know you need it. But that's about it. I mean, it's really just practicing to keep your hips up so that you're not so seated like that. Let me speed things up again here. I forgot we had it so low. But yeah, and you're starting to stand up and take your front hand off the handle a bit. Like that lead hand is already off the handle, and then your chest is facing too much toward the way that you're flipping, and you're kind of trying to jump and flip and tuck. It looks like in the air here, you're trying to kind of tuck everything together to accelerate the flip because you're not getting enough load and release. In order to flip faster, you're trying to ball up so that you don't slow your flip down as much, which is a normal reaction if you feel like you're flipping slow. A lot of people ball up to try and flip quicker. Um, but I mean, you got all the way around here. Um, so we just need to tighten up that approach. It looks like you're fully capable of landing this pretty quick. We just got to get that approach right. Um, So let's take a look at this second one here as well. So again, yeah, your hips are real far in front of your edge. You're kind of sideways already, and then you're sitting down a whole lot with your chest in front of your hips, which doesn't give you good leverage. So then by the time you stand up, your edge is really, really weak and really flat, and then you're trying to just push off the wake, and you don't really get a lot of upward push, and then you ball up and hope it works, and then your line tension is all over the place. So again, all of those other things will be solved if you practice those drills and learn how to edge in a really tall hips forward position. But that drill is the way to do it. It almost feels like you're like pinching your butt cheeks, if you will. Like think about the body structure that you have here. Let's go back to this one. Um, if you were to try and straighten your legs and like push them backwards almost, like your quad is what extends your legs, right? That's what will bring your foot forward. Like if you were sitting down in a chair right now and you lifted your foot forward so that you took all the bend out of your knee, your quad would tighten up. So if you think about how to get your waist to tighten up and push your waist forward, it's your glutes. So if you try to like, sounds weird, but like if you try to pinch your butt cheeks, right? Like and and stand tall, that's what's gonna help force. It's hard to explain how to get that to work, but that will force your hips forward. So like try to just, it's like if a chihuahua is behind you trying to jump up and bite the seat of your pants, um, and you were trying to avoid that dog biting you, then you'd push your hips forward. It's that kind of uh, forgive the analogies, but it's that kind of motion while extending your legs. So it's going to be quads and glutes. And if you fire both of those muscles, it'll straighten your legs. And that is what you want to practice when you do this loading the line hard lean drill. So right here, my glutes and my quads are what's firing, and the rest of my leg is mostly relaxed. Um, it stretches out my hip flexors, my glutes are firing, and my quads are firing, and that's what holds me up in that position and prevents me from breaking at the waist. So I know it's a lot of detail, but hopefully that helps you kind of navigate through this because it is a weird position to trust. Everything in you wants to kind of ball up and go fetal position when you're really uncomfortable. So you have to fight against that desire. But hopefully that helps you, and hopefully you're able to land this pretty quickly. Feel free to, you may have already landed it by now, but feel free to shoot us another video analysis request if you've been able to take this on and improve it. And we can keep helping you out until you land it. Thanks.